Hey guys, this is AI Gaming 1776 and we are playing Mad Max with the GTX 745 and I am going to try to show you how it performs with this card. It's going to be a little bit difficult, so I'm going to need you to bear with me. A lot of people say this game runs well, and it does run well. The issue is if you have a stronger graphics card like a GTX 960 and above, then you can pretty much put this on the highest preset and just play the game and have fun. Okay? So, in that regard, yes, the game runs very well. However, with the GTX 745, the game does kind of struggle. It struggles in 1080p. It does okay in 900p. Even in 900p, you can see right now we're only going to get in the 30s for the frame rate. Whereas with the GTX 960 and above, you're pretty much going to get to max it out and play at a higher frame rate than this and so on. So I think when a lot of people say, oh, well, the game runs really well and this, that, and the other, it's just kind of easier to benchmark it with a more powerful card. And this is why. When you go into the graphics settings, I've seen multiple people brag about these graphics settings like, oh, look at all these choices and this, that, and the other. Okay, they say that, but this is a very convoluted graphics screen. For starters, the resolution has the frame rate tied into it, and there's just a multiple choices here. Let's see how many 900p's we have. So 1600 by 900 at 25, at 29, at 30, at 50, at 60. All right, and then at 59. And that's just for this monitor. On my high refresh rate monitor, I think there's more choices. I could be wrong. The point being is there's a lot of clicking to go through. Also, this resolution thing does not respect what you pick. I'll keep telling it 60 hertz, and then you come back later and it doesn't say 60 hertz. So let's see if it'll say 60 hertz now. Now, everything else in the settings will respect what you tell it to. See, it says 25 hertz. Now, Total Biscuit pointed that out too, so it seems like he had the same problem. All right. So this is one of those games where when you pick the highest preset, which by the way, it's called very high. Your presets are normal, high, and very high. So once you pick the highest preset, the game's not really maxed out. Okay, anisotropic filtering can still go higher, and I'm pretty sure other stuff can go higher too. And then here's the other area where it gets convoluted. In a lot of games for a long time, your choices were things like low, medium, high, very high, ultra. So you had like 5 choices, right? Well, some of this stuff, like, okay, check this out. Geometric detail. You have normal, high, very high, and that was the very high preset, right? Very high, but wait, you can do ultra high. So that's above the very high preset, which again is your highest preset. And then you have max. Okay, so do you think all the other graphics are called max when you get to their max? No, they're not. Watch. So shadow resolution, very high. That's as high as it goes. No ultra high, no max. Number of shadowed lights. Oh, look, there's a very high and there's a max, but there's no ultra high. When again, geometric detail has very high, ultra high, max. And then shadow resolution has very high, but no ultra high, no max. And then number of shadowed lights has very high, max. Wait a minute. High, very high, max, but no ultra high. Are you seeing what I mean? This is, and it goes all the way through this list. It is very inconsistent and very convoluted. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with 1080p is what we're going to start with. Because I assume that's what a lot of people are going to be curious about. Can this card run it in 1080p? And then we're going to go to the preset and we're going to go to the very high preset. And this is probably going to play horribly, but I'm going to show you. All right. In the title for this video, I will say ultra preset because that's what most people are probably going to search for, but it's really very high preset in this game. Okay, so 22 frames per second, 27, 24. It is slow motion. It's not even stuttering. It's just flat out slow motion. And obviously you wouldn't expect in 1080p to max out Mad Max. Even if Mad Max does run really well, you wouldn't expect to max it out. So maxing this game out in 1080p is a no-go. All right. Now that that's out of the way, let's go to presets. So your choices again are normal, high, very high. So now we're on normal. That's the lowest preset. What's interesting about that is normal, the lowest preset, still has this texture detail go lower than high. Yeah, it does. See, so the so-called normal preset, which is the lowest preset, still turns some stuff on high. So normal preset, we're at 30 frames per second, sort of. 27 to 30 as of right now, but it's slow motion. The camera pans. Like, if you get motion sickness when a game poorly performs, that's where I'm at right now. Like, I get motion sickness when I move the camera. It is not a good experience. And this goes back to time and again, and maybe you guys don't want to hear my little peanut gallery sidebar here, but time and again, people get so hung up on the number, on the frame rate, that they, like, in my opinion, people get too hung up on it. All right. I'm trying to word things correctly here. People get very hung up on that number and they think, okay, that's at 30, that equals playable. Well, if I'm getting motion sickness, I'm not finding the game to be playable. So here's what we can do. We can go into the settings and we can make everything as low as possible. So let's do that. Because again, the lowest preset here, normal, did not make everything as low as possible. So let's see. I don't think anything. Oh, wait a minute. Number of shadow lights off. Okay, normal. See what I mean? This is very convoluted. Normal. So normal, normal, off, normal. Normal, off. Oh, look, all these things were on just now. I mean, even on the lowest preset, SSAO was on. Ambient occlusion. All right. Anti-aliasing was on for the lowest preset, guys. All right. So normal. And I literally have to go into, if you want to get things maxed, or if you want the settings all the way up or all the way down, you have to manually go into each one of these and check, because the way this game is made, you can't just look at the screen and glance and say, okay, everything's on or off. Like, you have to manually check. Ooh, that's a much higher frame rate. Look at that. See, I had actually not gone and turned everything down yet. This is, okay, 1080p with everything turned off is actually playable. Yeah, we're in the 40s. And this doesn't look bad. I mean, this is kind of what the game normally looks like. So, very interesting. I assume without the ambient occlusion on, the tail lights won't look as nice and things like that. This is actually pretty playable at 1080p with literally everything turned down. We're in the 40s. And yes, this is the opening area in case you're curious, but it's daylight here. You go further into the game and it's nighttime where I've played so far. And how it performs here is how it performs there. And you drive in an open, like across the map and everything. You get to choose where you're going. So it's pretty similar. All right, yeah, this is actually playable. 1080p actually, and it looks good. This does not look bad. So I could almost end the video right here now. Yeah, this looks good. You don't even need the settings turned up. And to be honest with you, I've played this with the GTX 970 on a 144 hertz monitor, maxed out, staying over 100 frames per second. And I mean, it looked better than this, but this doesn't look like garbage compared to it. Whereas a lot of games look like garbage on their lowest settings compared to their highest settings. So, no, this is good. All right, so let's go back into graphics. And so we did the 1080. We maxed it. We min it as in minimum. I'm wondering, let's see, you're going to get to kind of see me tweak this a little bit. First of all, I always like to have anisotropic filtering up, and it doesn't seem to normally hurt frame rate too much. So it's always interesting to me that anisotropic filtering doesn't seem to hurt the frame rate. And yet a lot of presets turn it down, the lower presets. I mean, the frame rate seems to have gone down like a few frames per second overall. I'm not using actual software to tell me. I'm just looking in the corner. I mean, it seems like maybe 2 to 5 frames per second fluctuating. I'd say on average, maybe 2 to 3. And was it worth it? It didn't look bad before. It looks a little better now. Here's the thing. This game is really weird. It's just the desert and some blowing dirt. And what's interesting is like even with the settings as low as they can get, we still have blowing dirt. Now I did turn up anisotropic filtering, but that shouldn't affect that. I mean, like the character model looks pretty darn good. All right, go into the settings again. What else can we turn up? Let's try shadow resolution to high. Let's try, I'm thinking texture detail to high. Let's turn the SSAO back on. Let's see where we're at now. Yeah, character model looks better. However, the frame rate went down a lot. See, it was in the 40s and now we're in the low 30s. And it's a little stuttery. It's not horrible. It's not motion sickness inducing, but it is a little stuttering. Let's turn, I bet it was the shadows. Let me turn the shadows back down. That's one thing I've noticed about graphics. If your card is not that strong, shadows seem to hit it pretty hard. All right, that got us into the high 30s, but let's go right back to where we were. Okay, now we're in the low 30s again. Yeah, this game's kind of hard to benchmark on this card because, to be honest with you, you saw in 1080p anything other than, like when you have it as low as it gets, it goes up into the 40s. But as soon as you start trying to turn anything on, it starts getting hit. So let's talk about return on investment, if you will. I think the game actually looked pretty good at that lowest setting. Let me do the lowest setting again. Don't worry, we're going to turn some other stuff up. But I'm curious to try something. I'm going to keep anisotropic filtering on, but I'm going to turn texture detail. Oh, wait a minute. Keep that on high. What if it was the SSAO? Let's see if that affected it. Yeah, look at that. We're back at 40. Okay. 49, 47. Let's see if we can get the shadow back. Low 40s. So, ooh, in the 30s. It's looking like SSAO is the culprit. So I turned shadows to high, texture detail to high, and I maxed out anisotropic filtering. Now, so return on investment, these rocks right here look better now that I've turned this stuff up. But the rest of the game, I mean, the rocks do look better, and since there's a lot of rocks, that matters. But the rest of the game, kind of normal. At minimum settings, 1080p, not that bad. So let's progress past here, though. Let's keep it moving. And I'm going to be turning it down to 900p. I don't know if sometimes 720p, for whatever reason, really screws with my recording. I've noticed that when I record gameplay, I can switch between 1080p and 900p without messing up my recording. But there's something about going to 720p that sometimes like splits my recording into multiple files. And then I have to basically stitch the files together. All right, so I'm going to skip. This does not look that bad. I was going to skip this, but this does not look bad. Like, I've played this with the GTX 970 and a 960. This does not look bad. This little cutscene here, we're still in the 40s for a frame rate. This is actually doable, guys. So 1080p, anisotropic filtering on the highest setting, times 16. And texture detail on high, which is just one setting up from normal. There's some food right here. This is your only chance to eat this food. Once you go past here, you can't eat this food. Well, I mean, if you randomly backtrack, probably, but the next time you walk by here, you trigger events that don't let you pick that can up. So, yeah, that's one of the annoying things about this game. And the last time in a performance video I complained about a game, someone didn't like it. Here's the thing. I'm doing a gameplay demonstration while I show you guys these graphics, but at the same time, I mean, I think it's fair to comment on the game. Look, you can see the dust there. This actually looks pretty good. It looks good. It plays well. I don't like how you hold A to climb things. That's a little bit annoying. Basically, there is a lot of holding the A button with a controller. Now, if you play with the keyboard, I don't know how it's mapped, to be honest. So that comment might not mean anything. This actually looks good. This does not look bad, and I'm surprised. So SSAO is the culprit. Nah, this is really good. I almost don't even want to do the other presets because normally, I said presets, resolutions, which is really just 900. Even this fire looks good. See, normally, if I can get 1080p to look good, it's like, why bother using a lower resolution? However, some of you guys might not have 1080p monitors. So with that, that would be a fair point, and I'm sure you would want to see how it performs. So I will change the resolution here in a second. I'll change it now. So let's go over this again to recap. You saw the highest preset. You saw the lowest preset. And again, the highest preset didn't max the graphics really. I showed you that. And then the lowest preset wasn't even as low as it could get. I showed you that. All right. So we did all that in 1080. Let's go resolution. Take this sucker down to 900. Although I've noticed some of you guys play in 1024, so maybe before the video ends I'll do 1024. Hopefully it'll let me. Again, when I record, let me look at my other computer. I use two computers for this. Hold on. And all right, we're in business. It's working. Yeah, see, for some reason when I switch to 720p, sometimes it stops my recording, splits my files up. All right, so just taking it from 1080 to 900, exact same settings, we're at 50 frames per second. All right. Obviously, more stuff fits on the screen at 1080. Things look a little more squat now. Now, in Metal Gear Solid 5, going to 900, in my opinion, with this card looks really good. Like 900p with the GTX 745, playing Metal Gear Solid 5, looks pretty good. All right, so it's interesting. Modern games, I feel, want you to play them in 1080p because more fits on the screen. And then obviously I would assume 1440 and 4K fit even more on the screen still. Because things do look a little different. I feel like things look a little more squat, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a moron for thinking that. I feel like it looks a little more squat. Graphics quality wise, they both have their merits. Artistically, I kind of like the 1080p better, but look at this. We're in the high 50s. And with the high 50s, it is definitely smoother now. It definitely feels more like the 60 frame per second experience. It doesn't feel quite like it, but it does feel more like it. All right, so at 900p, we're not hitting 60 yet, so that would mean we would have to turn something down to do it, and I don't know if I really want to. Sometimes I get kind of stubborn, right? I'm like, I don't really want to give anything up. We've already given up quite a lot. We have everything's on its lowest setting with the exception of three things. Anisotropic filtering is times 16, and then shadow resolution is up 1, and texture detail is up 1. Let's turn texture detail down. See if that gets us 60. No, and I don't think it looks better. I actually think it looks worse. Definitely his shirt looks worse. So, no. I'm pretty sure the lowest I would settle for is the settings we just had. Right here. Where are we at? Texture detail. All right, so basically you have to manually go in and make everything go as low as it can go. Don't pay attention to this 25. The game's stupid. It's going to say 25, but it's not really 25 hertz. Anyway, anisotropic filtering 16, shadow resolution high, texture detail high, everything else as low as it can get at 900p if you want to have the higher frame rate. I'm about to go back to 1080p actually. Let me go back to 1080p. All right. Oh man, the frame rate's in the 30s now. Okay, so did things look more squat or was I just stupid? Maybe I was just stupid. I don't know. Right now we're in the 40s. It feels better at 900p. You get okay, it's a trade-off. I could do this either way. I could play it in 1080 or I could play it in 900. For comparison, Metal Gear Solid 5 on this graphics card, I can only play in 900. Okay? In this game, I could do either or. There's a trade-off. It feels better at 900, and some of the graphics look better at 900 because you have the higher frame rate. But I feel like this game has a lot of grittiness to it, and the game looks more gritty at 1080, if that makes sense. This is all subjective, guys. All right. So some of you probably don't care about the subjective part. You don't care about the motion sickness and you don't care about the stuttering and you just want to know the numbers. All right, fine. So let's go back to the 900. Oops. 900. There we go. And then let's do a preset. Let's do the normal preset, which again, the normal preset is actually going to turn some of the stuff I had up down, and then it's going to turn some of the stuff I had down up. And look at that, the frame rate's already much lower now. And I don't think this looks any better. It looks a little more colorful this way. I'm curious as to why. I definitely like it with the, you got to remember the GTX 745 isn't that strong of a card. I definitely like it with everything down except those three settings: anisotropic filtering, texture detail, and shadow. All right. So let's do the high preset. So there's only three presets. You saw normal, here's high. Now the camera swings poorly. Now, we're at 30 frames per second, but it feels like crap. It does not feel good. It feels very smudgy. It's that slow motion, nasty camera panning. Yeah. Let's do the highest preset. Oops, it's up here. Preset. Again, you only get normal, high, and very high. Okay. Still in the high 20s, low 30s, but it's even slow mo. Okay, even when you don't move the camera, walking is in slow motion. So this is 900p, the highest preset. Now remember, the highest preset at 1080 had us around like 22 frames per second in some spots. All right, you got to hold the right trigger to run. Again, if you're using keyboard, I don't know the bindings. All right, keep it moving. It's going pretty slowly. I would definitely not turn the settings up in this game. I just don't think there's a payoff for it. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to try 720p. If the game magically stops, like if my recording stops, this turns so badly. Remember, we're at the highest preset at 900p. If my recording stops when I change it to 720, then I will give 720 its own video, and this apparently will be the end of this video. So let's find out. Go down to 720. Why did it go to 480? That is highly curious. There we go, 720. 720, 6. All right, let me look at the other computer. I got to watch it while I do this.